Have you ever noticed how your priorities evolve as you age? The things that once seemed vital, keeping up with a bustling social circle, attending every gathering, or staying connected with a wide network of friends, may no longer hold the same weight. As you enter your 70s and beyond, a profound shift often occurs. The pursuit of personal fulfillment, peace, and independence can take precedence over maintaining friendships that no longer align with your life. This isn't about cutting people out or embracing loneliness. It's about rediscovering yourself, reclaiming your time, and living life on your own terms. In this video, I'll dive deep into 6 compelling reasons why friendships may not be as necessary in your later years as they once were. We'll explore how letting go of social expectations can enhance your mindset, boost your personal freedom, and even improve your health. This journey isn't about isolation, it's about liberation. By the end of this video, you may find that releasing the pressure to maintain certain friendships could transform how you view yourself and your later years. So, let us embark on this exploration together and uncover why embracing independence after 70 can be one of the most empowering decisions you will ever make. Reason 1. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. One of the most liberating aspects of reaching your 70s is the realization that you've moved beyond the need for external validation. In your younger years, friendships often served as a stage for proving yourself. Whether it was fitting in with a social group, impressing colleagues at work, or maintaining appearances at gatherings to feel accepted. There was an unspoken pressure to be liked, admired, or included, a constant undercurrent of seeking approval from others. Social circles were often built around the need to establish your place in the world, to show that you were successful, interesting, or worthy of connection. But as you enter your later years, something remarkable happens. Those pressures begin to fade. You've lived a full life, rich with experiences, achievements, challenges, and lessons learned. You've built a legacy, whether through your career, family, or personal growth, and the opinions of others no longer carry the weight they once did. At this stage, you've seen enough to understand that true fulfillment doesn't come from external validation. It comes from within. You've earned the right to define your own worth, and you no longer need a large circle of friends to affirm your value or confirm your identity. You are who you are, and that's enough. The need to chase friendships for status, reputation, or social standing falls away, replaced by a deep sense of self-acceptance. This shift allows you to let go of relationships that were rooted in convenience, obligation, or the desire to keep up appearances, freeing you to focus on what truly matters to you. Consider Harold, a 72-year-old retiree who spent decades climbing the corporate ladder. His social life was once bustling, filled with colleagues, acquaintances, and so-called friends who orbited his professional world. But many of these relationships were superficial, built on shared work experiences rather than genuine connection. When Harold retired, those friendships began to fade. At first, he felt a pang of loss and wondered if he should reach out to keep those ties alive. He spent months trying to maintain contact, scheduling lunches and making calls, only to realize that many of these relationships lacked depth. They were connections of convenience, not of the heart. Then, Harold had a revelation. Why am I chasing relationships that were never truly meaningful? Instead of clinging to the past, he turned his focus inward. He rediscovered old passions like painting landscapes and tending to his garden, activities that brought him joy without the need for external approval. He spent quiet evenings reflecting on his life's journey, free from the pressure to impress others or maintain a facade. For the first time in years, Harold felt truly free. No forced small talk, no social obligations, just the simple pleasure of living for himself. This shift is transformative. When you let go of the need to prove yourself, you release the energy once spent on maintaining superficial or draining friendships. You no longer need to worry about how you re-perceived or whether you re-meeting someone else's expectations. You answer only to yourself, and that realization is profoundly empowering. It allows you to redirect your time and energy toward pursuits that bring you genuine joy, whether it's exploring a new hobby, spending time with family, or simply savoring the quiet moments of your day. You've earned the right to live authentically, and that authenticity is far more valuable than any social validation ever could be. Reason 2. Peace becomes more valuable than socializing. As you age, a quiet but profound shift occurs in your priorities. Peace becomes far more valuable than the hustle and bustle of socializing. In your younger years, being surrounded by people, friends, colleagues, or acquaintances may have felt like an essential part of a fulfilling life. The energy of social gatherings, the lively conversations, and the excitement of being part of a vibrant community were all markers of a life well lived. But as you enter your 70s, you may begin to crave something different. The kind of quiet that allows you to breathe deeply, to be at ease, and to feel truly present in your own life. This isn't just any quiet. It's the kind of peace that comes from being free of unnecessary drama, social fatigue, and the weight of others' expectations. Friendships, even the most meaningful ones, often come with a certain level of responsibility. There are phone calls to return, invitations to accept, coffee dates to schedule, and unspoken expectations to maintain regular contact. While these connections can bring joy, they can also feel like a drain on your energy, especially when they no longer align with your desires or values. At this stage of life, you've earned the right to prioritize your time and energy, to say no to plans that don't excite you, and to let go of the guilt associated with declining social obligations. You don't have to fill your days with activity just to feel connected. You can choose peace instead. Take Margaret, a 74-year-old woman who once thrived on a packed social calendar. Her days were filled with lunches, group phone calls, book clubs, and holiday gatherings with friends. She was known for being the social glue of her circle, always organizing events and checking in on everyone. But as the years passed, Margaret began to notice a change. Many of these interactions left her feeling drained rather than fulfilled. Conversations became repetitive, with the same stories told over and over, or they veered into complaints and gossip that no longer interested her. Some friends only reached out when they needed to vent, while others seemed to expect her to always be available. The joy of companionship had slowly turned into a routine she no longer enjoyed. One day, Margaret made a bold decision. She stepped back. She stopped feeling guilty for saying no to invitations that didn't spark excitement. She let go of the pressure to respond to every call or text immediately. Instead, she began embracing the quiet moments of her life. She took long walks through her local park, noticing the changing seasons and the beauty of nature in a way she hadn't before. She spent afternoons reading novels she'd always meant to explore, losing herself in stories that ignited her imagination. She even started journaling, reflecting on her life's journey and the lessons she'd learned along the way. To her surprise, this solitude wasn't lonely, it was profoundly peaceful. Margaret realized that she didn't need constant social interaction to feel connected. By prioritizing her own well-being, she discovered a new kind of fulfillment, one that came from within rather than from external sources. This is the beauty of this stage of life. You are no longer obligated to fill your days with constant activity or conversation, just to prove you reliving fully. You can choose peace over pressure, calm over chaos, and simplicity over complexity. If you've ever felt guilty for pulling back from social obligations or declining invitations, remind yourself that you're not withdrawing from life, you're embracing a new kind of richness, one that prioritizes your inner calm and personal joy. This kind of peace only deepens with age, becoming a precious gift you give yourself. If this resonates with you, please comment Reason 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Reason 3. Fewer friendships mean fewer disappointments. One of life. Harder lessons is the realization that not every friend is truly there for you in the way you might hope. Over the decades, you've likely experienced friendships that faded naturally, drifted apart due to life's changes, or disappointed you when you needed support the most. Perhaps you've had friends who were only there during the good times, or relationships that felt one-sided, with you investing more effort than you received in return. By the time you reach your 70s, you've seen enough to understand that fewer friendships don't just mean fewer social obligations. They also mean fewer disappointments, less heartache, and a lighter emotional load. Friendships, no matter how strong, come with expectations. There's the expectation to check in regularly, to be available for conversations, to offer support during tough times, or to attend events to maintain the bond. But when those expectations go unmet, disappointment inevitably follows. You might call someone who doesn't call back, plan a gathering only to have it poorly attended, or find yourself giving endlessly to a relationship that feels unbalanced. At this stage of life, do you really need the stress and frustration that come with these unmet expectations? The answer is a resounding no. Consider William, a 78-year-old who has seen friendships come and go over the course of his life. Some ended naturally as people moved away or life took them in different directions, while others faded because William realized he was always the one making the effort. He'd call to check in, only to receive delayed or half-hearted responses. He'd invite friends to gatherings, only to find them too busy or distracted to reciprocate. At first, the distance stung. William wondered if he'd done something wrong, or if he was somehow to blame for the fading connections. But then he had a powerful realization. He hadn't changed. He'd simply stopped tolerating relationships that weren't mutual. By letting go of friendships that felt one-sided, William freed himself from the cycle of disappointment. He no longer felt frustrated when someone didn't reciprocate, or let down when a friend failed to show up. Instead, he focused on the relationships that truly mattered, whether with a lifelong friend, a close family member, or, most importantly, himself. This shift is about choosing quality over quantity. Instead of maintaining a long list of acquaintances who may or may not value the connection, you prioritize relationships that are effortless, reciprocal, and genuinely fulfilling. These might be with a small handful of people who truly understand you, or they might simply be with yourself, as you cultivate a deeper sense of self-acceptance and peace. By letting go of friendships that bring more stress than joy, you create space for emotional freedom. You no longer have to carry the weight of unmet expectations or feel obligated to maintain connections that don't enrich your life. This choice allows you to focus on what truly matters, ensuring that your emotional energy is spent on relationships and a life that bring you genuine happiness. Reason 4. Your time becomes more precious. As you age, one of the most profound realizations is that time is your most valuable resource. In your younger years, time may have felt abundant. There was always another day to spend with friends, another opportunity to build your social circle, another moment to worry about who was in your life and who wasn't. But by the time you reach your 70s, your perspective shifts dramatically. You begin to see every hour, every day, every moment as precious, a finite gift to be cherished and used wisely. With this awareness comes a natural desire to be more selective about how you spend your time, prioritizing what brings you joy and letting go of what doesn't. Friendships, as rewarding as they can be, require time and effort. There are calls to make, visits to plan, events to attend, and conversations to sustain. While some connections are worth every moment of that investment, many are simply habits carried over from the past, relationships you maintain out of obligation rather than genuine enjoyment. At this stage of life, you have the right to ask yourself, is this friendship adding to my happiness? Or does it feel like just another task on my to-do list? The answer to this question can be a powerful guide in deciding how to allocate your time. Take Richard, an 82-year-old who once led a vibrant social life filled with dinner parties, group outings, and regular phone calls with friends. He prided himself on staying connected, believing that an active social calendar was the key to a fulfilling life. But over time, he began to feel differently. The long conversations that once felt engaging now felt draining, filled with repetitive small talk or complaints that left him uninspired. Social gatherings, once exciting, started to feel like obligations he attended out of habit rather than desire. One day, as he sat through yet another lunch where the conversation revolved around gossip and grievances, Richard had an epiphany. He didn't want to spend his time this way anymore. He began saying no to plans that didn't genuinely excite him. Instead of filling his days with social obligations, he dedicated his time to activities that brought him joy, reading historical novels, taking leisurely walks through his neighborhood, and even learning to play the guitar, a dream he'd set aside for decades. To his surprise, Richard didn't feel lonely. He felt more fulfilled than ever because he was spending his time in ways that aligned with his true desires. When you let go of unnecessary friendships, you gain something far more valuable: time. Time to pursue passions you've always wanted to explore. Time to enjoy quiet moments of reflection. Time to live at your own pace without the pressure of meeting others' expectations. You've earned the right to use your time as you choose, and that freedom is a gift that only grows more precious with age. So, if you ever find yourself questioning whether you should keep up with certain friendships, ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? The answer may lead you to a life that feels richer, more intentional, and deeply fulfilling. If this insight speaks to you, comment Reason 4 below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. Reason 5. True companionship comes from within. One of the greatest misconceptions about aging is that happiness requires a large circle of friends or constant social interaction. But the truth is, the most meaningful companionship you can have is the one you build with yourself. By the time you reach your 70s, you've spent decades learning, growing, and evolving. You've navigated life's highs and lows, celebrated victories, and overcome challenges. Through it all, you've come to know yourself better than anyone else ever could. With this self-awareness comes a powerful realization: you are enough. You don't need a crowd of people around you to feel fulfilled. Your own company can be the richest source of joy, wisdom, and contentment. Society often teaches us to seek companionship externally, suggesting that being social is the key to happiness and that solitude is something to fear. But there's a profound difference between being alone and being lonely. Some of the happiest people in their later years are those who embrace solitude not as isolation, but as an opportunity for self-discovery, reflection, and inner peace. When you let go of the need to fill your time with external distractions, you create space to connect with yourself in a deeper, more meaningful way. Consider Eleanor, a 76-year-old who once believed that a busy social life was essential to her happiness. She was always making plans, checking in on friends, and filling her days with activity to avoid feeling left out. She thrived on being surrounded by people, believing that constant connection was the antidote to loneliness. But over time, Eleanor began to notice a pattern. Despite her active social life, she often felt drained rather than uplifted. Many of her friendships were based on routine rather than genuine connection, and she found herself adjusting her behavior to fit into conversations or meet social expectations. She was constantly trying to keep up, to be the person others expected her to be, and it was exhausting. One day, Eleanor decided to change her approach. She began treating herself as she would a dear friend, prioritizing her own needs and desires. She took long walks alone, noticing the beauty of her surroundings without the need to share it with anyone. She spent afternoons at cafes with a good book, savoring the quiet and the stories that transported her. She began journaling, reflecting on her life's journey and the wisdom she'd gained over the years. To her surprise, these moments of solitude didn't feel lonely. They felt liberating. Eleanor realized that she didn't need constant social interaction to feel fulfilled. By embracing her own company, she discovered a lightness and peace she hadn't felt in years. This is the essence of true companionship. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, finding joy in your own thoughts, and appreciating the person you've become. When you stop relying on others for entertainment, validation, or connection, you unlock a level of freedom that most people never experience. You become your own source of joy, your own confidant, your own greatest ally. And the beauty of this realization is that it transforms the way you approach relationships. When you're at peace with yourself, you no longer chase friendships out of fear or loneliness. Instead, you attract connections that are effortless, relationships with people who respect your space, share your values, and bring peace rather than pressure. So, if you've ever worried that letting go of friendships might leave you feeling alone, remember this: the best company you can ever have is already within you. When you embrace that truth, you'll discover that you were never truly alone in the first place. Reason 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. One of the most powerful choices you can make after 70 is to let go. Let go of friendships that no longer bring joy. Let go of the notion that your worth is tied to the size of your social circle. Let go of the fear that being alone means being lonely. When you release these expectations, you create space for a life that is simpler, freer, and infinitely more fulfilling. This act of letting go isn't about closing yourself off from the world. It's about opening your heart to what truly matters, prioritizing your happiness, and living in a way that feels authentic and meaningful. Many people hold on to friendships out of habit, even when those relationships no longer add value to their lives. They attend gatherings they don't enjoy, answer calls out of obligation, and maintain appearances simply because it's what they've always done. But what if you gave yourself permission to let go of these burdens? What if you allowed yourself to focus on the things that truly light you up, whether it's a quiet hobby, a meaningful connection, or simply the joy of your own company? Consider James, a 79-year-old who once believed that staying socially active was the key to aging well. He made a concerted effort to keep in touch with old friends, even when those connections felt distant or superficial. He filled his days with social obligations, lunches, phone calls, group outings, thinking that staying busy meant staying fulfilled. But deep down, James wasn't enjoying it. The conversations felt repetitive. The gatherings became predictable routines, and he often left feeling more exhausted than connected. One day, he decided he'd had enough. He stopped forcing friendships that no longer felt meaningful and began prioritizing what truly mattered to him. He spent more time outdoors, taking long hikes in nature that rejuvenated his spirit. He focused on his health, adopting a new exercise routine that gave him energy and vitality. He even enrolled in an online course to learn about astronomy, a passion he'd always wanted to explore. In letting go of unnecessary social ties, James discovered something incredible. He felt lighter, happier, and more at peace than ever before. This is the power of letting go. It is about recognizing that your happiness isn't tied to how many people you have around you, but to how aligned you are with the life you want to live. When you release the pressure to maintain friendships that feel like work, you create space for what truly fulfills you. You begin to cherish the simple pleasures, a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, an afternoon spent on a hobby without distraction, the peace of reflecting on your own thoughts. Fulfillment comes from living authentically, from making choices that reflect your true desires rather than societal expectations or old habits. So, if you've ever felt like you should be doing more to maintain friendships, ask yourself, is this truly adding to my happiness? Or am I holding on out of habit? Once you give yourself permission to let go, you'll find that life becomes simpler, lighter, and more fulfilling in ways you never imagined possible. If this idea inspires you, comment reason 6 below to share your thoughts, and make sure to subscribe for more insights. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this video, take a moment to reflect on the journey we've taken together. The idea that you done to need friends after 70 isn't about isolation or turning away from connection. It's about embracing freedom, authenticity, and a life that feels true to you. It's about releasing the unnecessary obligations that weigh you down, choosing peace over pressure, and prioritizing your own happiness above all else. Through these 6 reasons, we've explored how letting go of friendships that no longer serve you can bring more joy, more time, and more fulfillment than you ever thought possible. What stood out to you the most? Perhaps it was the realization that you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone, or the understanding that peace is more valuable than socializing. Maybe you connected with the idea that your time is precious, or that true companionship comes from within. Or perhaps you re-inspired by the thought that letting go can open the door to a more fulfilling life. Whatever resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Please leave a comment below sharing one thing you learned today and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your thoughts are incredibly valuable to us, and reading your comments inspires us to keep creating content that uplifts and empowers. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who might benefit from these insights. Your support helps us continue delivering valuable content to guide you through this beautiful stage of life. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.